I think there's an awful lot to watch this week in markets. I think on Tuesday of this week, in the morning, we've got the latest UK employment data. And clearly, with the shutdowns and the virus around the world, employment data is really interesting at the moment. And this is why I'm looking at the pound against the US dollar. We did see the pound trade up to about 135 against the dollar. But you can see, if I just zoom in, how it slid since September. You know, it's dropped down below 128, and it's been a fairly steep fall. So I think Tuesday morning it's going to be really interesting to watch the pound to see if it can try and recover some of the good ground lost for the month so far. We did have this great recovery going on from the March lows when the pound hit its worst levels since the mid-1980s. So I think that's a really interesting market to watch this week, pound against the US dollar. I'm going to stick with currencies for the next one as well, because we have on Wednesday evening, we've got the latest interest rate decision from the US. No changes are expected, of course, but the statements from central banks at the moment are being really closely watched. What do they think about the economy? Do they think they need to do more to try and stimulate the economy? So I think the market I'd be watching on Wednesday evening, it comes out, I think it's about, it's at 7 o'clock UK time, 8 o'clock Central European time in the evenings. And it'd be interesting to see how the euro reacts. The euro recently, against the US dollar, traded up to its best levels in more than 2 years. So we've seen the euro up at 120. So a euro bought $1.20. And then there was some nervousness that perhaps the European Central Bank wasn't too happy about the US dollar, about the euro being so high. They did say last week that they accept, they accept the euro is strong, and it didn't worry them too much. So we can see here, something of the euro recovery last week. And I wonder, when we get this data, this interest rate data out of the US on Wednesday night, what sort of impact that's going to have. So I do still think we could see the euro into the rest of the year push higher in the months ahead. So it's going to be a really interesting market to watch, I think, on Wednesday night. And then, of course, stock markets. So another one that could see some volatility on Wednesday evening when we get this latest news from the US Federal Reserve is stock markets. I've looked here at the S&P 500. So we've got, again, those lows in March, of course, when the world really started to panic about the coronavirus. The incredible recovery since then that has felt sometimes, particularly, I think, the last couple of months, that it's been going up in a straight line. And then into September, we've seen quite a different market, quite some nervous moves, I think, in stock markets as investors thought, well, maybe the strength in technology stocks has gone too far. So we did see sort of calmer trading over the last week for stock markets. And I wonder what the reaction will be on Wednesday evening over this interest rate decision. I think for now, investors seem happy to buy in. So I wonder, will we see stock markets try and recover back up to their recent highs from the end of August? But I think overall, even though stock markets have fallen heavily over the last 2 weeks or so, investors still seem to have an appetite to be buyers. So I still think we could well see a return to those old highs. For the rest of the week, I don't think it's too important, but on Thursday lunchtime, 12 o'clock UK time, 1 o'clock Central European time, we do have the Bank of England interest rate decision. So it's a big week for interest rates. So that's here in the UK interest rates. Again, I think that pound is going to be a market to watch. No change expected from the Bank of England, but I think we could get some volatility. The other interesting market this week, I think, is crude oil. We've seen, after some fairly quiet trading in crude oil, let's just take a look at the price. So you can see from sort of June through to end of August, drifting upwards, but not much day-to-day volatility. We have seen that volatility in the price of oil pick up during September. It's gone from $44 down to 36. So it's a big move in the price of crude oil. Again, last week we saw it calmer. I think clearly oil markets worried about just what an economic recovery looks like. Will demand be down? But I wonder, given the price has dropped $8, so almost 20% fall for crude oil, I wonder if for the rest of the month the story is of buyers coming back into this market. So I think crude oil, we have the usual inventory announcements on Wednesdays. They come out every week. We'd normally expect some volatility over that, but I think it's a really interesting market to watch this week to see if we see the buyers come back in. But I think with all of these interest rate decisions coming out from the US and the UK, then currencies are the one to watch. And I do think that perhaps the pound could be the hot market for the week to see if this slide has gone too far and we see something of a recovery from these levels. So a really interesting week ahead.